Hi, we are the Confident Communicator, and I am Seema Mehta, along with my partner Deepma Jadeja. Welcome to Imperfect Parenting. Together, let's get on a journey of discovering kindness, success, and happiness courageously, fearlessly, and by holding ourselves to a standard of grace, not perfection. It is our mission at the Confident Communicator to empower kids and adults discover their own uniqueness through our coaching, training, and soft skills program. We welcome you to a new chapter of Imperfect Parenting, a series dedicated to discovering our own uniqueness without judgment by chiseling away all superfluous materials within ourselves.
Struggling to keep a full-time job, and
Yes.
you're at home and you're handling that responsibility, and you also have a spouse at home. You're not used to spending so much time together, but now you're spending time together. It's
Yeah,
not
one thing I
easy.
noticed is, that especially in the neighborhood that I live in, we have a very large community here. And suddenly the convenience food started becoming the number one thing because already you're working from home, everybody like the way you described it. And then you're ordering all these convenience foods from these vendors who have erupted from everywhere, whether
Yeah.
there's cheese or fast food or, frozen food or stuff like that. There's so much of it being piled on. Now I'm thinking, how does a parent in this environment think about nutrition and
Yeah.
yeah, how do you do that? What advice would you give?
I think because working with parents since a long time and being in the nutrition field since a long time,
Yeah.
parents, kids, literally soak up what the parents' behavior is.
Correct.
So I have parents who've been on my plan for years now, 2, 3 years, and they have kids who naturally will say, "Mom, can I have some broccoli as a snack?"
Right.
And it's not hard. You can change because it's so much to do with your gut microbiome. If your gut microbiome favors a certain kind of food, that is reintroduction of those foods. So when you're eating broccoli, you're giving birth to a lot of broccoli loving gut microbiome.
Yes.
The more you eat broccoli, the more you're giving birth to broccoli loving. So you have these broccoli loving bacteria which start growing in your gut, and they send a signal to the brain saying, "Hey, I'm craving for broccoli."
I want more. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, and that's easy because you're seeing your parents do it. It's just part of your eating habits, and then you're going to. So I've had kids, and I've gone out with my clients sometimes when we go out to like meet or we talk about a meal, and I'm seeing that little child sitting over there and saying, "I just want to have steamed vegetables," and the parent is, you can choose anything from the menu. I just feel like steamed vegetables,
So
and that
what
just
you're saying
becomes
is,
like a habit.
just to understand what you're saying is, you're saying that the gut has some kind of a wiring system or a neuron that is transmitting a
Yeah.
message to your brain,
Yes.
telling it that, this food that
This
I'm
is what I
ingesting right
want.
now is a
Yeah.
delicious one.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be French fries, but it could be just broccoli. It's how we look at it and how we present
Yeah.
it to our children. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's an
So
interesting
because you
fact.
just mentioned presented, there was this, because I was preparing for this presentation, I was looking up a lot of research studies.
Yeah,
And when you give a child, a young child, an option to choose between a chocolate, a bar of chocolate, and a cup of vegetables,
yeah,
the child is going to pick the bar of chocolate 4 out of 5 times. So 4 out of 5 kids go for the chocolate. Yeah.
right.
But you do the same thing, the chocolate bar and the cup of vegetables, but this time you put a little, SpongeBob sticker on the vegetable, or like a
Yeah,
little bit cartoon figure next to the vegetable.
yeah.
Now, 85% of the kids go on for the vegetables.
Wow.
Because you made it a better option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything. You didn't take the taste. You didn't do anything. But
Right.
you're just making it more. I want to use the word presentable, but I think
I think it's the
the
mindset, isn't it?
yeah, because you put that little cartoon figure over there with the
Yeah.
bowl of vegetables. Also, second, a very interesting study I came across is just the way you chop the vegetables. Uh,
Yes.
Kids likely to eat it or not. So if you're
Oh,
doing these, you have these cookie cutters and you're doing these heart shapes,
right.
zucchinis, doing a little square shape, and you present that on, you keep it on the table versus you just chop it like we do and we keep it on the table. Kids are more likely to. pick it up.
So this is great advice for young parents whose kids are just sort of in the process of starting to eat and starting to embrace a good diet. And it's excellent advice, because really there's a big, deep connection between food and our moods, right? Food and our attitude, food and your mindset. Because if you have a correct mindset developed in a child towards food right from the beginning, then they will be encouraged. What can
Let's start with top 5 foods to include. That might be the easiest example.
Yes. Sure.
I'm talking
Top
about
5 foods. I'm taking notes.
Top 5 foods. I'm talking about growing, younger kids and the struggles of younger kids. So let's start with that. Number one, younger kids are the most prone to repeated infections. So like when I'm looking at an adult, my clients are asked to fill up a medical questionnaire. And one of the questions is, how often do you fall sick in 1 year? And an average adult is about 2 to 3 times. That's no more than that. Average is that. Unless the immunity is really bad, then we need to work on that. But for a kid, an average kid falls sick about 6 to 8 times in a year. Yeah, you're going to school. You have these cough colds. It's not major sickness, it's cough cold fever repeatedly happening.
Correct.
That's because the immune system is not flared up yet. So let's say, like with the COVID, you get COVID once, you flare your immune system, and then you develop antibodies. The next time you don't get it again, or your chance of infection are less because you developed antibodies already for that particular strain.
Right.
But why do we have to keep infecting ourselves to develop antibodies? If there was a way that for our bodies to develop antibodies without having to infect ourselves, if there's any food which can help you do that, then that would be amazing, right? That would be like technically a miracle medicine.
Right.
And that miracle medicine happens to be in the form of something called beta-glucan rich foods. Yeah.
Okay.
Beta-glucan rich foods. Highest concentration of beta-glucan is found in something called nutritional yeast.
Okay.
Now, nutritional
I've
yeast
heard about this. Yeah, there are these powders that you get ready. Yeah.
It's an umami tasting powder, cheesy flavor. And just to give you the wonderful benefits of nutritional yeast, one very, very nice study which was done, and very ethically done study, was kids, were given nutritional yeast and not given nutritional yeast. The kids who were given nutritional yeast, their chance of repeated infection dropped out by 60%, which is huge. So these are kids who are going to school repeatedly and they're not falling sick anymore. Manganese-rich food.
Okay.
Enough manganese. Now, we were talking about the gut-brain connection, right?
Yes.
Your happy hormone, serotonin, 90% is made in the gut. It's not made in the brain.
Correct.
So if you can fix a person's gut, you can literally make the person come out of depression.
Wow.
So amazing. And with ADHD, it's found that majority of people who struggle with ADHD, attention deficit disorders, also struggle with gut issues. Yeah,
No, and I remember this, that even in Ayurveda, one of the foundation of Ayurveda is that your gut health is the most important. What is there in your gut is the most important. And now this makes sense that the serotonin is produced right there. And that is what makes you, I think, energized and right? It handles
You're happy or not happy.
Your happy emotions come from there. Is that
serotonin is your happy hormone.
Correct. Your happy hormone. Exactly. Okay. So yeah, tell us more.
And most people don't even know that they have a gut problem. So, I mean, the first thing when I tell you gut problem, you'll think of loose stools or constipation, right?
Correct.
There's so much in between. There's, bloating, there's gastric, there's uneasiness, there's irritable bowel movements, there's irregular bowel movements. There's this, I don't feel like going to the bathroom. And then suddenly when you feel like you can't hold for even 1 second, you have to go right now.
Yeah,
Those kind of issues. There's repeated bowel movements where every 20, 30 minutes you feel like going. You're waking up in the night to go to the bathroom. So there's so many things. You could not be constipated or have loose stools, but still have gut issues. So you want to work with your child in understanding this,
And this is useful for even adults, right? I mean,
everyone.
So what kind of foods can they have for this?
What is manganese? What has lots of manganese?
Manganese is very important. And manganese-rich foods are pumpkin seeds and like garbanzo beans or chickpeas, but pulses and lentils have a lot of manganese. And manganese in this form is also easily absorbed by the body.
Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Plant-based manganese forms are easily absorbed. So you want to try and make sure that you're introducing, I think, chutneys we make at home regularly, see if you could do like chutneys, we don't add, unless South Indian chutneys do have some lentils in it, but generally chutneys don't have lentils.
Correct.
In it. can you replace your chutneys for hummus and flavored hummus, like, barbecue hummus and spicy hummus and
This is why the
tandoori
Mediterranean diet is so popular, because it has a lot of the hummus, right? A lot of the chickpea
pulses, yeah,
pulses are
pulses
used.
and
Yeah.
vegetables and fruits. Number three, because we just spoke about glyphosate. What
Yes.
I would do, just because you don't really know where your produce is coming from. Yeah, it says organic. Is it really organic or
We
not?
really don't know.
You
Yeah.
don't know. So my suggestion to my clients is something called plant diversity. Make sure that there's up to 100 plants per week in your diet. So if you're used to, and this is very common among all the people in India, your lunch is mostly rice, your dinner is mostly chapati, or vice versa. But this is the two grains we predominantly use. Very
Correct.
few of us, I know there are exceptions, but very few go towards jowar, bajra, ragi, millets, quinoa, buckwheat, freke, and all the other grains.
Correct.
Yes, predominantly it's wheat and rice. So if you can bring in diversity, maybe you're getting that little bit of glyphosate from wheat, but you're switching it to millets once in a while, you're switching to rice once in a while, you're switching to different colors of rice.
Right.
So your exposure is still limited.
So how would you advise a parent to plan this kind of a
100
like
plants
consistent?
per week. Play a game with your kids. This is
Okay,
what I
that
do.
sounds very interesting.
This is-
100 plants a week. I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds like a great challenge.
100
Yeah.
plants per week, and this is a game which I make all parents play with their kids. If
Yes.
your kid has joined the program, especially,
Yeah.
then it will be a game, because trust me, kids are easy. They'll follow.
They
They'll
will.
listen.
They
to
will.
you. Parents
Yeah.
don't listen. Four is okay. So this is another very interesting thing. I'm not sure if either of you have dealt with kids with autism. I'm sure our listeners might have.
Yes.
You know what is very, very ironic, sad, and also miracle like? When a kid with autism has fever, the autism symptoms go down. And it is, it's really sad to see that, because your child is suffering with fever,
Right.
but at least your child doesn't have autism. So when the
Wow.
kid is going through this fever period, the autism symptoms go down. And this is very, very surprising, because when you have fever, there's certain heat shock proteins, HSP, released in the body.
Okay.
And these HSPs are responsible. So, when I have cells in my body, right? So you have one cell and you have different cell. And
Yeah.
this communication between these two cells happens through something called synapses.
Okay.
Yeah. And kids with autism, they have trouble with this communication between cells.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But these HSP proteins boost the communication between your synapses.
So are you saying that they should be given more HSPs?
Yes, the simple thing is they should be given foods which naturally, without the fever, because you can't keep
Of course, yeah,
exposing.
we don't want them to have
Yeah.
fever, but
So
something
you
that has
can
that is
introduce foods which naturally boost the presence of HSPs in the body. That's it. Then you have this kid whose intelligence level is higher, you have this kid whose performance is higher. And these foods are sulfur containing foods.
Okay.
The biggest group there is cruciferous vegetables.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So cruciferous vegetables would be, I'll give you a few examples, but parents should look this up. Broccolis, cauliflowers, cabbage, bok choy, kale, all of these are cruciferous vegetables. Kohlrabi, radish is also cruciferous vegetables.
Okay.
In my family, it's a rule that my family is blessed. They have a nutritionist at home. But it's a rule.
Yes, I hope they appreciate you.
We do. Our dinners always start with a cruciferous vegetable soup. Always. We have never had a dinner at home which does
Wow.
not have a soup to start with, which is like our appetizer, and then we have the main meal. So that itself acts in an amazing way. If you're looking for fat loss, you're finishing your soup, and it takes you about 20 minutes to finish your soup, which is the amount of time it takes your stretch receptors of the stomach to send a signal to your brain that, hey, I'm full.
Yeah.
So overeating people, the problem is you're eating too fast.
Yes,
Forcefully
yes,
you have to slow down. It's a hot thing. Plus, it's a cruciferous vegetable soup. So you're getting a lot of cruciferous vegetable in this much, 1 cup.
Small cup. Yeah. And this thing about chewing your food slowly,
Yeah.
is that a myth or is it true? I mean,
That is the same thing. So you're just taking about 20 minutes to send that signal to your brain. Also, when you were mentioning,
basically what you're doing is you're giving your brain that much time to send that
Yeah,
signal,
understand
and
that
that is important. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Now
Yeah.
it makes sense.
number 5 would be omega-3 rich food. So child's brain is still developing.
Yes.
Brains need omega-3 rich food. Mandatory 1 tablespoon either of flaxseed powder or chia seed powder per day. Anyone.
Okay.
A really sad part about omega-3 is in the body, omega-3 absorption decreases when omega-6 absorption increases. So omega-6 is your oils.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the oils. So if you're eating
So
a
the
lot of
more
oil,
oil you have, the omega-3 goes down. Is what
Absorption goes down. Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So
So
you could-
absorption goes down. Okay.
absorption. So you could do your flaxseed religiously every night. But if you're doing a junk meal in the morning, then the flaxseed will have no
Will
effect.
not get absorbed. I see. I see. The last question I have for you is about fasting, because I know everyone is talking about it. I know adults are doing it. It has been practiced in India for years, right? But is it something that kids should also be involved in? What is your say?
So let's look at the research on fasting. The predominant body of research which shows benefits of fasting is in terms of longevity. So if you want to live a longer life, then you fast or you stay in a slight caloric restriction throughout your life. Mice given a little bit lesser calories or put on an intermittent fasting form of a diet, you tend to increase lifespan.
Yeah.
Is fasting necessary for weight loss? Not at all. Not at all. But I've had people saying I fasted and I lost weight. I mean, I was following an IF diet, an intermittent fasting diet, and I lost weight. You
Yeah.
lost weight because you're missing a meal. You didn't lose weight because of the fasting. So
Right.
if you strategically plan your meals to not have that many calories per meal, then you would still lose weight. So your
Yeah.
fasting is not dependent on this. So that
Got
we
it.
need to get that clear first in the mind.
So don't look at fasting as a way to lose weight. That's
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
what most
I
people
found
think.
actually when I started doing a little bit, dabbling a little bit in the intermittent fasting, it wasn't the intermittent fasting, it was the not eating the late night snack and the late night ice
Yeah.
cream and all
Yeah.
of that's what caused the weight loss, because I wasn't doing the ice cream and the,
Yeah.
a few badam or a few kaju in the night when, you
Yeah.
feel that little bit of
Yeah.
an inch.
And that,
itch to eat.
and that you're able to bring into your lifestyle modification. So if you plan your last meal strategically, have your circadian cycle right, so you sleep and wake up cycle at the right time,
Correct.
then you don't need to fast to lose. Yeah, it can benefit many people, but indirectly, like you said.
Yeah.
For kids, when I look at intermittent fasting, I've worked with a lot of teens with eating disorders. Yeah, so this is like anorexia, body image issues, bulimia.
Yes.
And these are in their teens. They're obviously in their teens, parents are not aware. They share it with me, and that puts our team in a ethical dilemma to share, to not share. So it gives us in a tough spot. But when this tends to happen, when kids are diagnosed with eating disorders,
Yeah.
that's because of fad diets in the news.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Someone said fast for 16 hours, you'll lose weight, and you start following it. And I think when parents see this behavior in kids, that is a warning sign to make sure you're seeking professional expert. Because you might not even know sometimes what's going in the background. You could be a very normal family, but the child is struggling with an eating disorder.